It brings me extreme pride to introduce our next conductor. She will be making her conducting concert band debut. Please welcome to the stage our student intern, Ms. Lacey Jewell. And I'm also happy to introduce the conductor of the Grand Ledge Community Band and a good friend of mine, Mr. Matt Zerman.
So as I mentioned, we do have a Halloween concert coming up that we'd love for all of you to be a part of. It's actually the Wednesday before Halloween, so October 29th at the Grand Ledge Opera House, so a great place to see a concert and for us to perform. It starts at 7 o'clock on the 29th, and we're going to be playing some of this music. We've got plenty of other music we'll be doing as well. We're going to have some of the high school students that are in the musical that's going on soon, Footloose. They're going to do a little preview for you as well at the concert. We're going to have free refreshments. We also do a fun thing where we have folks that donate gently used holiday decorations, and we sell them for like $1 or $2. So if you're looking to get some cool decorations that people just aren't using, I know that we still have stuff that our kids put up that they bought 10 years ago, and they're so excited to just be like, oh, we get to put up that thing that we got at the concert. So that'll be fun, and yeah, it'll just be a good time. It's a free concert. We do accept donations, and all the donations are split between the Opera House and the community band. So you don't have to pay anything, but if you'd like to give a donation at the concert, that's fine too. So again, mark your calendars, Wednesday, October 29th at the Opera House at 7 p.m. And we encourage you to get dressed up in your costumes as well. So those of you that are going trick-or-treating or have kids that are going trick-or-treating, it's a great dry run. Try out the costumes, see how it's going to work, and adds to the festive spirit. We're all going to be dressed in costumes too, so we encourage you to do the same. This next piece is going to be a little bit of a different tempo, a little bit of a different style. This is a nice, beautiful, slower piece, and it's got some cool percussion, especially at the very end. You may notice them rustling some paper bags or some plastic bags at the end, kind of mimicking leaves blowing in the wind. So it's a really cool piece called In Autumn. All right, we've got one more piece for you. I'd be remiss if I didn't offer to anybody that is in this room, or if you know anybody in this room that plays an instrument that you see in front of you, any of these instruments, any band instrument, you're more than welcome to join us. This is not an audition group. All right, these are just volunteers, people that just show up and play. We have fun, we play some fun music, and we just have a good time. So anybody that's interested or would like to know more, we do have a Facebook page. Just look up Grand Ledge Community Band, or just show up. We practice in the Beagle band room from 7 to 9 every Wednesday night. So if you're possibly interested, just show up, see what it's about, and we'd love to have you. So this last piece we're going to do, did anybody here go to see the Lansing Symphony Orchestra when they did the Planets recently? Anybody? Yeah? Okay, awesome. So this is actually the first movement, an arrangement of the first movement of the Planets. If you're not familiar with the Planets, go look it up on a streaming service or whatever you listen to your music on. But Gustov Holst wrote this 7-movement piece. Each one was signifying or kind of showcasing one of the planets, at least the ones that they knew at the time. Doesn't have Pluto, because Pluto wasn't around when the music was written. Doesn't have Earth, because that would be boring. But it has all the other seven planets. And this is definitely probably the most popular. Maybe Jupiter is also pretty popular, but this one we're going to do is Mars, based on the god of war himself.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage your Grand Ledge Marching Band. Tonight we are very excited to perform for you indoors our 2025 production entitled Landscapes, a tribute to Ron Nelson. We're going to play all 4 pieces in succession this evening. You'll hear Mayflower Overture, Savannah River Holiday, He's Gone Away, and Rocky Point Holiday. If you've not seen us before, you're in for a real treat. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Relax, check it out. Before we conclude, a few thanks must be given. I would like to thank my wonderful friends and colleagues, Tavia Zerman, Matt Zerman, Lacey Jewell, for their outstanding work. What you see and hear today is not possible with the work that happens at the middle and intermediate school level. So let's give our colleagues a round of applause. I'd like to thank the administration at Grand Ledge Public Schools for their support of the band program, but of the arts in general. We have a very thriving arts program here, visual, musical, theater, and they support everything that we do. So I couldn't be more grateful to work in a district that supports the arts as much as they do. So let's give it up for the support of the arts at Grand Ledge. If you've never seen what happens behind the scenes in the Grand Ledge Marching Band program, you would know that although I am the director, I play a fairly small part. It takes an army of people, a mass of volunteers, time, money, energy, transportation to make all of this possible. There's so many people to thank, but the people who are closest to me, who put in the most work, everybody who's donated time, money, energy, I could not be more grateful. We live in a very nice bubble here in Grand Ledge, and it's not like this in other places. So to everybody behind the scenes, my most heartfelt thanks to you on behalf of the students. And last, and certainly not least, the students who are on the stage. Again, if you don't know much about what happens in the marching band, you can just take it from me that these young adults are among the most hardworking people in Grand Ledge Public Schools. Our calendar in the marching band is rigorous. It's long hours, lots and lots and lots of hours. And on top of that, they have their classes, they have homework, they work part-time jobs, they babysit, they do all the things. In my not so humble opinion, these students don't get nearly the amount of credit that they deserve for the work that they put in. And on top of that, they have to put up with me, and I'm often not the most pleasant. So, one more round of applause for the Grand Ledge Marching Band. Thank you all for being here. We have two short selections we're going to play, and thank you again very much for being here and for your support.